week has arrived. The 2026 Minnesota State High School League State Boys Hockey Tournament is here, and KFAN is your ringside destination for all of the action. Coverage begins Thursday on KFAN and KFAN Plus, presented by James Hardy, North America's #1 siding brand.
Couple 13-14 pastime common. He's 10 to be excited and delighted to be joined by the legendary one, Mark Rosen.
Afternoon.
I was at the slot machine last night. Guess who was asking about you?
I don't know.
Nobody. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody wanted to know, where is the legendary one? They all want to know where you were. They didn't care about. They either want to know about Deuce or you.
We're
they
in the
wanted
suite.
nothing. Yeah, they didn't want anything to do with me.
Who was in
Just
there?
all sorts of our clients. They all care about the legendary
thanks
one.
for the invite. I didn't have,
You wouldn't have shown up. You're
late game. My teeth were in the jar. Actually, I went to bed after Quinn Hughes' electrifying goal to make it 4-1.
You know what? This just in, he can play a little.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, he's special. We knew he was special. We didn't really know because unless you watch Vancouver Canuck hockey,
which tend to be.
Tenna would, but they were,
I'd never heard of him until he got here. And now I can't stop hearing about him.
Yeah, he's fitting quite well with Brock Faber and everyone else on that team. And my goodness, he's got, as I mentioned before, and I know it's old school and it might be a preposterous statement, but he has a lot of Bobby Orr to him in terms of the way he controls the game and the way it's impossible for people to knock him off the puck, and obviously his offensive ability, which Orr was without peer.
Without peer.
Yeah, I mean, but Quinn is just a different player. He's just a different style, and he's so fun to watch. The way he's like he's a point guard out there. I heard the in-game interview. Is it Cooper, the coach of Tampa Bay?
Yes, that was a great interview.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Usually those coach interviews are the worst.
No,
he was nothing. He was great.
He was terrific. I think I asked him about
what
Quinn.
made it good. What was it? How'd it go?
Well, he just sort of shrugged. I think
it wasn't like coach speech cliched stuff. He didn't look miserable to be there.
No, exactly. And he knew they were. Listen, this was a great matchup. Two teams with 80 points, and then the reporter asked him about Quinn Hughes, and he just kind of shrugged his shoulders and was kind of like, "How do you defend him? How do you stop him?" And he goes, "You just don't." Yeah. He plays his game, and you have to hope that you kind of get in his way. And it was kind of a refreshing.
He was asked about the matchup between the two teams,
right?
And at the time they were like through the first period, and he's like, "Well, if we keep playing this way, we're going to get blown out of the building."
Correct. He did say that. Yeah. He has a couple of cups on his belt, right? Two of them.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So he's got nothing to worry about right now, but. Yeah, entertaining. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Did you leave after the 3-goal lead?
Well, no. We stayed. It got to 4-1, and then I looked at Deuce, and I said, I know we should have 3-goal lead at the end of 2. He said, let's stay until like 8 or 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Well, then they wouldn't blow a whistle. And I'm starting to panic because it's like I want to leave. So I said, let's just go.
Yeah.
They're not going to blow a whistle. So we left, got out to the car, zipped out, and I had him check the score on the phone, and it was, I said, let me guess, it's 4-3.
No boy.
And now they got a 6-on-5 because they've dumped the goalie and they're about to tie the game. He goes, no, it's 5-1. And then we found out we didn't get to see the franchise most goals scored by an individual player in franchise history.
You've got to be kidding me.
It was an empty netter, so.
Yeah, I mean, as you talked about earlier, I'm not saying it's anticlimactic. It would have been nice to see a classic Kirill goal, but it really, it's a moot point because he would have, not the next game he would have broken the record, and they had the video kudos from Marian Gabrick all set to go, and it happened pretty quickly for that young man. So it was a nice victory again. And I can't believe I saw that record 10. The Wild's record at home in particular against Tampa Bay is like 16-3 or something.
We've always done well against Tampa Bay, even though they've been great throughout that entire stretch. It's been a good matchup for us, like we do great against Edmonton.
Well, but now we need to do great against Colorado or Dallas.
There's that.
Those are the teams that got to.
We've had some playoff series success against Colorado.
They have. No, they've
beaten them twice.
Well, I know it's, and I don't think it's unique to this market, but it almost seems like it. We always, we got to. Why doesn't Colorado have to worry about us?
They should. This year they should.
Yeah, I think they do.
We always think the sky is falling. It always happens in Minnesota because I guess it always has happened in Minnesota. We have the 2 World Series championships, and of the major men's 4, we have nothing else. We have some,
Right.
Vikings were in the big game 4 times. They've been NFC championship games. The Wild went to one. The Stars went to, was it 1 finals they got to? 2 finals they got to. We know that the Wolves have been to Western Conference finals, but we've never won the whole thing. So I guess it is that idea. But this team is, again, I'm far be it from me to be the hockey judge, but that team looked really good last night. I know that Tampa Bay early on had some really good chances and outshot the Wild, but Gus was big time, and then that team can flat out play.
Well, this team is, as they say, you like one of your favorite terms. It's built different. I think we're seeing Bill Guerin has been able to do it. Now they brought in a behemoth from Nashville to add more physical prowess to their team at 6'6", and whether he stays here or not, there's still time to make another move by Friday, and that's certainly a possibility that this team may make another bigger move leading into that. But in the meantime, getting Brodin back, big plus, and their defensemen are as good as it gets in the NHL, I think, right now. So yeah, it was nice, enthusiastic win last night. I watched it after the Wolves game, and like I said, after Quinn scored, that was.
You like this Wolves club, don't you?
Well, listen, what happened last night was what I kind of expected. They had their usual first half malaise against a team that they should dominate, and Memphis, playing a bunch of guys that are just happy to be out there and hungry, had an early lead, had 10, 12-point lead, and then the Wolves clamped down. And I mentioned yesterday that they were going to dominate the boards, the Wolves, and they did. They out-rebounded them 52-20, 33, I think it was. And then Edwards just lit it up in the fourth quarter. He just couldn't miss. He was just psychotic from everywhere, and they put him away. And then, to give Memphis credit, they made it a little closer than, probably the Wolves wanted it to be at the end, but it was pretty much wrapped up by then. So, again, one of those games that you just kind of know it's going to look like this. And then, but Ant gave them, that spurt that, only Ant can do right now, especially even on the defensive end. He had a spectacular block, turned into I think another 3-pointer, and Randall pumped him 23, and Dosun Mu had 14. I like him a lot.
Dosun Mu?
I don't know. Is that how you pronounce his name?
I don't know. I've not seen him play
Dosun Mu. Yeah, that's been a really good acquisition for them to up the pace along with Bones Highland. But Naz Reid had an off night, and those things.
Did I even need to say I haven't seen him play yet?
No, you did not need to say that.
I will see him once playoffs start. I'm a playoff guy.
I know you are.
I'll dig
That's
in
fine. Yeah.
because then to me there's more intensity, there's more urgency, and teams.
I can't blame you.
Turn it up, especially I think in the NBA more than any sport is really good. I guess hockey too gets real intense, but the NHL.
Hockey definitely does, but both teams are kind of on that same path right now, where it's a matter with the Wolves are going to be probably third or fourth. The Wild will be probably second or third, and onward and upward you go. I don't think the home ice is going to mean a whole heck of a lot in the NHL for the Wild. I think they play well on the road, and so do the Wolves. So but that's still got a month to go.
The one thing with the home ice, Tennessee, you have to explain this to me again. I know there are people out there that says you work at the All Sports station. How do you not know the most elementary of rules? But you get the last decision on shift change or something?
If there's a whistle.
If there's a whistle.
And teams are making line changes, the road team has to put their line out first, then you can match lines if you're the home team.
I see.
Right.
And
which when you're playing up against a Nathan McKinnon in a series, like you'd rather have the change to put your top defenseman out there and your top checking center out there.
So so then, I know any team can win on it. The home team wins a lot, visiting team wins a lot. How big of an advantage can that be? Can that be game changing, do you think, in some cases? Or say, well, no, sometimes it's good.
For hockey?
Yeah.
I think it's very little.
Yeah, very little. Okay.
I'd rather be at home, but I think it's just a slight advantage. It can be easily overcome.
Very good. Let's do this. Let's take a break.
Okay.
Several other
Probably sometimes they feel more pressure at home because you have people going, shoot!
Yeah, I did it a couple times.
And on the road, they don't do that. So you can just, you have a three thinking mind.
I yelled shoot a couple of times last night.
And they listened to you.
And I liked it. It was fun to just yell at the game. Though I must admit, I was one of those guys that people hate. I was reading my phone. I was
During the
reading.
game,
I was
yeah.
catching up on news stories, because it's like, but it was fun. They're a hell of a team. We'll break. We'll come back with more with Com and Tenneby and Mark Rosen here in the Fan.
It's a Wild Wednesday on the Fan, and we have your shot at tickets to Wild versus Mammoth on next Tuesday. Just use the iHeartRadio app to send us a talkback and tell us who are your 5 untouchable players on the Wild currently. Get the full details at KFAN.com, keyword contest.
Tenneby, I didn't notice a final score, but I do know that Hibbing Chisholm eliminated Dodge County earlier in 1A. Right now, Matamidi and St. Cloud Cathedral are 0-0, about a minute to go. 1:06 to go in the first period. It's a Class A quarterfinal action down at the X. So, or actually, it's the slot machine, the Grand Casino Arena. And then 2 more games today, right? And then they go to the AA stuff tomorrow.
AA tomorrow.
Yeah, AA tomorrow. It was announced yesterday. Everybody expected it, but apparently Kyler Murray, current Cardinals quarterback, about to be ex-Cardinals quarterback, they have said to him they're going to release him. Tenneby and I were talking about, it seems like any quarterback out there that's either going to be a free agent or might be on the trade market is connected with the Vikings in one way, shape, or form. Could be Vikings, could.
Yeah.
And as you bounce the names around, I know that Murray, he had a great rookie year. Next couple of years, he was okay, and then not so good. That's why they're parting ways with him, because he just hasn't lived up to the expectations. But if you believe, I don't call him quarterback whisper anymore. I call him quarterback muttering under his breath guy. Why can't he throw across the middle? Why can't he align his feet in his eyes? Why can't he stay healthy? I wouldn't mind Murray, I guess, to be honest, and again, like Tenneby says, Murray's probably not going to want to come unless he's guaranteed a starting job. I hate doing that. I hate telling a guy, you're in. Because it's like, well, if you're not in, you're not in. What if you're awful? What if you're awful during preseason? You're first going to, because I still think you want to hopefully maybe see something about McCarthy, or maybe you're so far, it could be, because it all depends if you think, how much time do I have to win games, and what's our window and all that? And if you're thinking playing McCarthy, if it's not any good, we could lose another year or two. But of the names out there, I guess what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't mind them. That'd be the one I'd be most interested in because you can get them cheap. What about you? If you're
I said that yesterday too. He's the one that kind of at least gets the adrenaline going a little bit, even with his shortcomings. Pardon the pun. That he has more of electricity to him and gamesmanship than certainly I think a Geno Smith does at his age, and all the other quarterbacks that are kind of out there, that, the Kirk Cousins and even your guy A-Raj. I just think that there's a lot of steam about Murray's name right now, but there's so much stuff that's floating around out there, even to the point of, I've seen a couple of reports and reporters, I'm not saying they're the Ian Rappaports of the world or the Florios, et cetera, that are saying, well, the Vikings are done with McCarthy. That could not be more further from the truth. I don't see that based on what? And what he's doing right now, working out on the West Coast. It still, to me, comes down to whether it's Kyle Murray or Geno Smith or whomever the Vikings bring in. If J.J. McCarthy doesn't make a quantum leap this year, both from a standpoint of his playing ability and his durability, and this is going to be looked upon as just a big, colossal failure for the entire Vikings organization, that they finally got themselves a chance to draft a so-called franchise quarterback. And if he doesn't work out this year, after, the injuries and then, the inactivity and the ineffectiveness and the, et cetera, that, I'm not saying it's something they can't overcome. Obviously, we saw Seattle go ahead and sign our guy and win a Super Bowl. And that's not to say that Kyler Murray, the only thing I will say is I don't think Kyler Murray is going to have to be assured of getting a starting job. He's going to be able to compete for the job, but he's not going to, KOC or anyone else is not going to say, listen, the job is yours. That's preposterous. If he signs next Monday or Tuesday or agrees to terms here, it's just not happening that way. Unless the Vikings are to pull a big shocker and decide to trade J.J. McCarthy, which I don't see happening at all, 10 games into his career. So, yeah, I think that, there's a lot of conversation, and rightfully so, about the kind of quarterback the Vikings want to bring in, and I think it's definitely going to be an upgrade over the Carson Wentzes of the world. Kyler Murray does seem to fit, especially on this type of team. He's got a defense, which he's never really had in Arizona, and he's got playmaking ability and he's got, definitely some stuff that hasn't worked out for him. But I think with Minnesota, I'll probably give him, based on basically what he has said, is that I think the Vikings are his number one pick. And it's the salary part of it's irrelevant in terms of, the money that the Vikings will have to pay him. It's just not much. So they can get him for cheap. And I would be surprised, I guess, at this point, unless the Vikings have a different method and looking at Geno Smith or Kirk Cousins to say, we'd rather go with that guy. I just think there's more upside more unknown with Kyler Murray. And I would be surprised if they don't bring him in next week.
Did you and I talk about the Grenard thing?
We did a little bit, not a lot.
The rumors are that, the Vikings might be willing to trade him because he makes a lot of money. He's a good player. I mean, he's really good. He's been a main cog on the defensive end. But, when you do have the salary cap, they got to pair a salary. And I guess they say duplicitous, if that's the right word, that they have a little depth at the position. Dallas Turner did make some strides this year. After his, after he was free, they moved up to 17 to get him, and he wasn't. Right. There were some real question marks about him. He was better, so maybe they just figured Turner's ready to take that next step, and then if they can get something for Grenard and save some money, maybe that's a decision.
Well, you said he's making good money, but he's not making top-notch defensive end money. That's for sure. And he's had some injuries, but a lot of these guys go through that. For the most part, he's been a very good performer on this football team, and I don't want to see him go. I certainly don't want to, give up necessarily just get a 4th-round draft pick for Jonathan Grenard. And then because what that does then, too, is that really looking at your depth chart, you say, well, that's great. So-and-so stays on the team, and they're going to pay Jalen Redmond. They're going to pay Eric Wilson. A lot of these guys are going to be back with this team. But then this just in, there are going to be injuries. And so now you got to protect yourself and who's going to be the other guy. I mean, when having Jonathan Grenard and Dallas Turner on the team has given them some extra depth in that department. Now, if Grenard is gone and if they end up trading him for a draft pick, it does limit you a little bit more at that position. So and they very well may end up working out a deal with him. I think that's a focus for them. I'd like to see them do that, but. Every team does it. I mean, we saw today, there was one, again, it can't be announced. You haven't
seen his contract laying around at your kitchen table,
I have not, no.
Just wondering.
No, Karen handles the coaches.
Okay.
Yeah. The Rams traded for Trent McDuffie, the defensive back from Kansas City, give up their number 1 draft pick. And that, again, can't be officially announced till next week when the NFL is open for business, but interesting move for the Rams, and then they're playing the Super Bowl, and they mentioned it. They're playing at their stadium next year at SoFi, and last time they did that was when Matthew Stafford. They traded for Matthew Stafford. They won the Super Bowl at SoFi. So Trent McDuffie is now will be a Ram, and they gave up their number 1 pick and I think a 4th-round pick to get him. So that's a pretty significant move for both those teams. And this is going to start again. Stuff will get leaked out, but the real stuff will happen starting Monday.
Hold on.
Yeah. Max Crosby?
Yes. Bears bluntly called out by Colin Cowherd amid Max Crosby trade. He was called out.
What?
Well, it says the Bears contributed a team. And he's saying, and others are saying that they should go and get him at all costs. Cowherd says that. Some other people that, follow the league, national type names, think that's what the Bears ought to do and are going to do. It's hard not to want to have your team's name attached
to
Max Crosby. He's one of the best at that position, but we're a long way from there. And again, what's it? Legal tampering, and then it's
Monday.
And so that's when I think
Wednesday the league business kicks off.
March 11th, right? Yeah, it's March 11th. I think is what it is. It'll be interesting.
So it'll be a busy week.
I just wanted to hit the breaking news.
Well, I like your thought process. I'm anxious to hear how that's all going to wash out with Mr. Crosby.
Well, let's take our final break. Come back. One more segment to go with Com and Teneby and Mark Rosen right here on the Fan.
Hang out with Justin Gard, Meat Sauce, Max, Parker, and Helvey at Hop House, our Bracket Bash watch parties on March 19th and 20th. Catch the games and score giveaways like 65-inch TVs both days. Get the full details today at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
More trade rumors. Let me do the Max Crosby breaking news. You say you're reading all kinds of things now. What did you just read? What did you tell me?
Well, I know I lost it already. The Lions were mentioned now.
Lions and somebody else.
Lions, I can't remember. I've already lost it. I already zipped past it. I mean, there's just so much.
Lions and Seahawks?
Yes, correct. It was. I mean, it's just, might as well name every team in the league at this point.
While you're looking for it, Stephon Diggs is going to be released by the New England Patriots.
Oh, really?
Well,
so Diggsy will bring him back home.
Yeah.
Let's get the band back together.
Yes. Diggsy's gone through them all.
Does Diggsy have much left? How old is he?
He doesn't have a whole lot left.
No.
Well, I'll tell you what. We were just talking about it. Crosby's name came up last year with Detroit. Because, this isn't the first time Crosby's name has come up with, being traded, right? And the Lions' problem with Hutchinson is they've never had another edge rusher on the other side that can really do enough to free up Hutchinson. They've had a couple of guys that are okay. They have their moments and have solid games or stretches, but basically, I think all teams have just said, well, we'll just double Hutch or chip them, and we'll take our chances, and most of the time it works. If you paired Hutch and Crosby on the same team, you may as well just hand the Lions the Lombardo Trophy. It's over. They're going to win the whole thing. That's how good they are. The roar will have been restored. It'll be the year of the cat.
Yeah.
The only question to be answered, will they be wearing road white or Honolulu Boots big game? No, but it would be. I tell you what, when you can put two of the best edge rushers on the same team, what team wouldn't? But it's funny. I brought this quote up a couple of times. I just told it to you off air. Last year, the guys in Detroit, reporters were asking, Campbell going, you guys have been spending a lot of money, and what are you going to do? He goes, we'll keep spending it until we run out.
Someone upstairs tells me we don't have any money left. You don't have any
money, you have to stop spending it. And that would be formidable. It wouldn't guarantee anything, but that'd be an awful good football team. Defensively.
Now, there's just so much that maneuvering that goes on with the cap, and we've talked about it. Even the Vikings are considerably over the cap at the moment. I just saw a story as well that they're already, mentioned Jalen Redmond. They're definitely going to restructure his contract, and they're going to keep him and give him a nice bonus, et cetera, and make sure he's a big part of this football team.
He had a really good season. He's a good player.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. These are things that you can work out, and it still doesn't affect the cap to the point of preventing you from signing other players. And I think there'll be other players that aren't necessarily big names that are going to be that the Vikings will be able to sign and be able to latch on to with free agency that, they're going to go, oh, wait, who's that? But he fits what maybe Flores wants, or a running back that they can get their hands on, because otherwise, I mean, you're going to have to totally rely on the draft to bring in another running back with Jordan Mason. They don't really have anyone else at the moment with the release of Aaron Jones. So that's an area of concern with, so many other holes to fill. But that's we go through this every year. So it's no big surprise with all of that.
Did I see where Walker Jenkins is going to be like?
Oh,
he's got is it a hammy? He's got an issue, and he's certainly not going to start with the big club. Apparently, there's no. Well,
I don't think he was going to anyway.
Right, but I mean, there were hopes that he would play well enough that he would at least be considered.
Yeah, he's got I don't know what they call it. It's here, whatever type of hamstring thing, and I mean this. I was obviously, very high on this kid and thinking that he's one of the most natural hitters coming out of, the college ranks but he's been beset by injuries, it seems like, which is so typical of the Twins, one thing or another. And again, I think he got hurt running he got running to first base or running, and you just kind of shake your head. I mean, this guy's, 22 years old, whatever he is right now. How does this stuff happen? Again, overtraining, and I mean, it's just basic stretching that these guys do. And all the years I spent down in spring training, I don't remember watching. I remember Herbie and Kirby used to joke about when their days are over. The only thing they were going to be lifting were 6 packs of beer,
right?
And as far as staying in shape and getting in shape. But those guys played, and they played every day.
Herbeck's kept that promise.
What's that?
I think Herbeck has kept that promise.
Yeah. Well, I think he's had some health issues as well.
Has he?
Yeah, I think he had a little bit, but I think he's doing okay right now. But we all know what, unfortunately and sadly, happened to Kirby.
Yeah.
But the point of the matter is, we go down the lineup, and for those teams, not just the World Series teams in '91, and even the ones when they won divisional championship after divisional championship, and you go through those lineups. You recall many of those guys being out for extended periods of time with hamstring or arm injuries or whatever it might be, and now it just is an epidemic of these sorts of things that go on that are not the Pablo Lopez thing, but there's Buxton or Royce Lewis, and now it's Walker Jenkins, and it's pulling muscles and doing. It's like what do they have training staffs for? And what are you doing wrong? Why isn't this being corrected?
I don't know.
I'm tired of talking about it.
Yeah, but I don't know if I blame the training staff. I don't think I blame them. I once asked.
It might be.
I'll tell you, I asked Paul Molitor once. I ran into him 5 years ago over at the Holiday Station over over off of Vernon and 50th,
right,
and Highway 100. And the Twins had fired their training staff guy. I go, Paul, how much does a training guy make a difference? And he holds up his finger and his thumb, and he holds them this far apart, like nothing. And so I don't blame the training staff.
No, I'm not saying it's
The training staff has nothing to do with it. They train these guys, and these guys are just I don't know.
They're doing a lot of it on their own, and but there's something amiss, is what I'm saying. It's just these are not the types of injuries that used to occur on an every spring training type of thing where fluky things can happen. Guys get hurt. They run into a wall. We know with Buxton and other things that have gone on, but these soft tissue injuries that seemingly are affecting the Twins, and they're not probably the only team, but it does seem to be an epidemic of these types of things that keep these players from advancing and getting the kind of work they need, especially when you're limited to the kind of talent they have on this roster.
You're getting ripped.
Okay.
Rosen's a fraud. He just said Walker Jenkins was one of the best pure hitters coming out of college. Jenkins didn't go to college.
Oh, high school kid.
Twins drafted a high school.
Yeah, you're right. My mistake.
Yeah.
But the point of the matter is...
You thought you saw him on that Boston College
with Alex Tuck.
You had. Yeah. When you watch Walker Jenkins, do you think more splendid splinter or Yankee clipper?
He's left-handed, I believe.
Well, that man, I'm just in the swing.
Yeah, I think more Kirk Gibson. Yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen. I honestly haven't seen much of him because saw him in high school. That was about it. And he's certainly was thought to be. He's had a couple of years already in the minors, and this was supposed to be kind of one of those breakthrough years. Maybe potentially by midseason, end up getting a call up from St. Paul or whatever it might be. And that still could happen. I don't know how long he's going to be out, but it's just with all the other issues going on with the Twins and trying to sell hope and trying to sell young talent, it's pretty difficult to do when the guys are in the tub all the time.
We had a very controversial topic yesterday, and Tenenbaum and I vehemently disagreed.
What's that?
I actually think I could even work with him anymore after this.
Oh no!
I say DiMaggio. He says DiMaggio. What do you say?
Joe DiMaggio. I just said the word. You asked me his name, Joe DiMaggio. I don't think I've said DiMaggio. I think it's DiMaggio.
That's what Paul Simon sings in Mrs. Robinson.
I understand.
Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? He says
doesn't
DiMaggio.
mean he's right.
I know he doesn't, but I'll go with Paul Simon.
Okay.
I'll go with Mark Rosen.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm going to go with DiMaggio.
Yeah. God. I remember when he was here in town, he was a coach with the Oakland A's, hanging out over at Harry's Bar, come to town, and you realize, you always think to yourself, these players, I mean, do they know that? I'm sure they do. They're in the, and he had his ego. I mean, he would insist on being introduced as, the greatest.
Oh, come on. He did not.
Oh,
DiMaggio?
Absolutely, he would.
He sent a dozen he would send roses. He would have them placed at Marilyn Monroe's grave.
No, anytime they had the old timers game, he got mad at, I can't remember when the announcers for not introducing was the greatest living ball player, Joe DiMaggio. That would have to be part of his introduction, and he would be really peeved if someone didn't do that.
Did he say he wanted to be announced as DiMaggio or DiMaggio?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I just remember seeing him wearing those Charlie Finley crazy colored uniforms at Met Stadium, and he was third base coach for a while. And you go, is that Joe? DiMaggio, whatever you want to call him. But it's Jolton Joe, and there he is as a coach. That's like watching when Ted Williams was here with the Washington Senators, I guess, at that point. And he and Rod Carew struck up a friendship for a period of time when Rod was having his sensational years here with the Twins. Ted would come to town, and he and his good friend Bobby Knight would go fishing. Sid would broker that.
Yeah. CBS Sports is doing their every day. They take a look and break down each Major League Baseball division today. Mm-hmm. They did American League Central. Here's what they have for the projected starting lineup for the Minnesota Twins. Projected. Leading off, playing center, Byron Buxton, Austin Martin in left, Luke Keeschall playing second, batting third, Josh Bell, newly acquired, playing first base, batting fourth, Royce Lewis at third, batting fifth, Ryan Jeffers at catcher in the sixth spot, then Wallner in right, Larnach as the DH, Brooks Lee at shortstop. Kind of the same names we've seen for a long time. And again, that's where, I've talked about this often, where all of those names, particularly, and we already know about Buxton and Lewis, about they were much ballyhooed, and Buxton certainly has been a really good player for the Twins. He's been hurt a lot, but he has been a really good player, and Lewis, we just don't know enough about. I mean, he was one of the most highly touted players in all of baseball, not just with the Twins in all of baseball. But these other names that we hear so much about, Keeschall, Wallner, Larnach, and Lee. These are guys, especially the Wallner, Larnach, and Lee. They've been three guys that have been in the organization now for handful of years. Mm-hmm. We keep hearing these guys are going to be mainstays in the lineup. These are going to be mainstays in the lineup. And they've all had their stretches, their moments, but they haven't been able to consistently do it. And you wonder how long the leash is for all these guys. And I think for some of these guys, it's like it's time to really everybody's going to have a slump, and you're going to go for 4, and you're going to drop a ball in the outfield or misplay. But they just need more consistency out of those guys, because all of those guys have shown some flashes. And again, I saw, here in the preseason, you read locally all the different, prospects that we have. Like they're talking about these 3 outfielders. Right. Is it Gonzalez, Rodriguez, I think, and then I don't know who the third guys. But the story in Fish Wrap West Side was, you'll see these 3 guys playing side by side in St. Paul. You might even eventually see all 3 of them playing at Target Field, and it's like, that sounds good, and you hope. But after a while, when you keep hearing that, that's where, some of us, after a while, we just kind of roll our eyes, shrug our shoulder, and shake our head and say, I'll believe it when I see it. We hear about all these great, like the pitching process. There's a list of like 10 guys that they think these 10 guys all have a chance to be really good. And I guess chance is the key word there, because we hear that all the time. And then just the odds are, it's such a tough sport to get to the big leagues and excel and be a mainstay for so long. The odds are just against most of those guys.
Well, there are, and there's not a lot to back them up. That's the other problem. Not just in terms of what Derek Shelton, the manager, has to now juggle and figure. He's got to figure out a system so the guys aren't playing every day, and which ones can handle it every day, and they don't have a lot of depth. They have some good young players, good minor league system, but how many of those guys are going to play this year? Culpepper is one guy, and there's another couple other ones but it's just really hard to And because of the pitching situation, to ever, to kind of rally around, if their everyday lineup produces, I mean, they may need to score 5-6 runs a game to kind of to keep up with what's going to happen with, especially with the bullpen. I don't know how they're going to get that done unless there's some really young players that surprise. But even in Central Division, I mean, I think it's just hard to imagine them competing. And
well, Tigers should be really good. I mean, they've got two of the best pitchers in baseball.
Yeah.
They have a good everyday lineup.
Right.
Royals and should be all right, I think. And then the Indians, they have, what I've read about them is probably not as good as they have been as of late. And then the White Sox. Then it's the Twins. And in this story, they also included biggest question mark for each club. And they were, the biggest question is the tear down complete? Because if you're, they had the fire sale with the bullpen last year and other players. But at the very end, it says, if the Twins struggle in the first half, will franchise stalwart Byron Buxton be asked to consider waiving his no-trade clause? Now, he was almost angry about it earlier in the spring when he said apparently the reports were he was mad that the Twins, there was quotes from him in the Athletic and the Fish Wrap where he basically said they could have shut that down right away and they didn't, because he wants to finish as a Twin. But opinions change, particularly where the direction of the franchise, especially if it's going south. Then it also says, will the underrated Joe Ryan be shopped to a contender? Will high upside Royce Lewis be dangled now that he's into his arbitration years? Those are the big unknowns which fittingly reflect the uncertain future of the organization. And that's what will be interesting to see. If they don't contend, and more than likely they won't, especially now with Lopez out and some other guys. If they are a terrible team in a terrible city with terrible fans, do they just go, let's go all prospects. Let's go ahead and let's see if Buxton will waive it. Let's see if we can trade Ryan and if we can get rid of Lewis. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, I don't think nothing would surprise me in terms of their approach from ownership, because I think they realize they're not only not going to contend this year, they're going to be lucky to be 15, 20 games under 500 as the season progresses. I think they all realize there's a real probability of a lockout after this year, and that whatever Tom Pohlad or whoever feels is that their objective is to have a competitive team by 2028. I don't think any of that's going to happen this year. It's not to say they are acutely aware that in the sports landscape here, even when the weather gets nice, that selling tickets, I've gotten, 2 or 3 emails from somebody with the Twins organization. I don't know the person, asking about signing up for, I think I told you this, like a 10, 15 game package or whatever it might be. I've never gotten anything like that before. And it's just, I think they're doing it for a lot of folks. It's going to be a tough sell. I mean, even if you want to say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to go out to I love going to Target Field on a nice summer night, nice summer Saturday afternoon, whatever the case may be. Go watch some baseball. They do it in Colorado. Their lousy franchise they have there, they draw quite well out there. But man, I think Minnesota is just a different animal. I think there's just too many other things to do, and we know when that weather gets nice, and whether you're on the golf course, whether you're in your favorite lake, whatever it might be. The old days of listening to it on the radio are even few and far between now, as people are just not. And that's the look in the mirror. That's all because of ownership and what they did not do after winning a playoff series here a couple of years ago. That was the decision that they made at that time, not to continue to compete. And it's coming back to smack them right in the butt this year, particularly.
Well, it's a topic that comes up often here on the Grum, where you just talk about your different types of fans, and you're exactly right. There are the fans that they go to the game that it really, they like to see the Twins win, but at the end of the day, they're just there as, hey, what do you want to do tonight? They go to 1 or 2 games a year. Just like they go bowling once or twice a year. They go out to a club to see music. They go, rent a canoe. They rent a boat, like you say, or whatever they do, and they just go, hey, let's go to the Twins game, and they'll go and they'll kind of pay attention. It doesn't really matter to them.
They walk around.
And then you got all the way to the other end with the people that are hardcores, scoring the game. They're mad when the team doesn't win because they do enjoy they enjoy cheering for the home team. So you have all sorts of different fans. And who was the quote from? Which guy was it? The owner of what team was it that said, The truth. This was a quote just recent last week. Truth of the matter is, winning is ranks fifth on fans'
kind of wish list.
Wish list, yeah, winning. Affordability, safety. He had all these other things listed. And he goes, you'd be shocked, but winning is probably about the fifth most important things. And I don't, with some fans, but I still think hardcore fans, it's the number one thing. I think. They'll pay big ticket prices if the team is really good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've always been a baseball guy, and I love it. I love the day-to-day drama. I love the day-to-day conversations, and the box scores and whatever the case. Checking out the progress of young players and seeing how guys are getting out of slumps or streaking and doing the little things that make baseball an intriguing game. And as we saw last year, people say, "Well, baseball's dead." That World Series last year was as good as it gets. And granted, it was the Dodgers, and we understand that Toronto will probably be back again. But for pure drama, that World Series was as good as anything you'll see. I mean, it was baseball at its best with the drama and not having a shot clock and not having, it was riveting to watch. But the problem is, it feels like the Twins are playing a different sport.
Yep.
That's where we are right now. It's not the same as watching those elite teams in the game today.
Royce would tell you go watch some town ball.
No, he's right. Royce does that. Yeah. No, there's plenty of good town ball in the state to go watch them.
It's everywhere.
It is. Oh, it's been
almost every town has one.
Yeah,
it's fun.
It is.
I adopted a couple of years ago. The Buckman Billy Goats.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was just driving by, saw them on the field one time, watched them play, and talked about them on the radio. Had one of the guys on the air, and they went to state. They didn't win, but it was pretty cool anyway.
No, there's some great ballparks.
Cathedral scores at the 7:41 mark of period number 2.
One-timer on the power play.
Yeah, they lead Matamidi 1-0. That's the 5 versus the 4. Cathedral the 5 earlier. Hibbing Chisholm shut out Dodge County. We'll see you tomorrow at 2, correct?
Yeah, tomorrow is Toys Day, right?
Yeah, Toys Day. We'll see you then.
We'll see you then.
Tenemy, thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. We really did enjoy spending time with you today. We'll be back tomorrow 12 noon. Big Ticket JG there next. Enjoy your day.
Good night, folks, and good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
Later.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.